All right, guys, super excited to be here today. Welcome to Black Plague Precision. We are doing a reaction video today, and we are going to be watching a video by F Class John. Now, I'm not only excited because F Class John is doing it, which I am because I love to watch his review videos, but I've also saved this video for a couple weeks because I wanted to watch it with you guys and go through it sort of real time. Now, this video is called First Look at March 8 to 80 by 56 high master wide angle Majesta scope. So I'm really excited because this is a scope that I'm looking to upgrade to. I just want a little bit more power and visibility in my shots. And so I'm looking at this. And just a quick note, I was in England earlier this year and I tried to go to the March shop. Now, I will say that I didn't try to go. I reached out to them because I wanted to go. And I was there for quite a bit of time, and I was less than an hour away, and I really wanted to go see if I could see some of these scopes in person, particularly look at the reticles because there is an F class reticle that they just came out with this system. And so I was really interested, and they did not get back to me, and they did end up getting back to me. Um, almost 3 months later through Facebook and letting me know, like, hey, sorry, we missed this. Next time, email us or call us. And I did try to call them, but because I don't have a UK phone and it was a whole thing. And so it just, I don't know, it didn't really work out. But I am hoping that next year when I go back, I can go and I can check out their shop. And by then, I might already own the scope. I'm not really sure. But it is something that's on the top of my list right after getting the Seb Neo X. So let's take a look at this video.
Here it is, the brand new March Majesta.
Woo-hoo-hoo! Look at that bad boy. I do not put any stickers on my scopes. Matter of fact, I have a cover on my scope because I'm so paranoid by hitting it and hurting it and whatever. But I like the branding on there, and we do have the Majesta there, which is so nice. And this is going to be, as sort of his name, F Class John. This is going to be an F Class build. So I will talk a bit about that as we sort of go through this.
Master 8 to
I love the gray, by the way. It's nice.
80. I just got this, just finished mounting it up at the shop. I've got it here to sight in. After this, later we are going to be shooting it at 600 yards. So the only rounds I'm really putting.
Now I'm wondering if this at the very back, this little lever here, if that was an add-on or if that's included because on my call list, that's included. And there's a lever as well down here for zooming in as well, right? Getting that all worked out. And I'll see if I can put up a photo of that. But yeah, that's really interesting because it just doesn't look like it necessarily belongs there, but it must come with the scope, right?
Through a round are just to get it zeroed in at 100, and then I will show you what happens later tonight. But very excited.
So just a quick look, right? Again, this is an F-class build. Now, this is the Seb Neo X that I am in love with, that I want. I have used other people's Sebs, and they're amazing. And I'm on a 15, 16 month waiting list. I'm hoping in 2024, somewhere before the middle of the year, I'm going to own one. But it is nice. And I'm not going to go over sort of the rules and stuff like that for F classes for another video. But, you can use a front rest or you can use bipods or a sled or whatever. Now, this is for open, F class open, which is what I'm interested in shooting. And do that in other disciplines of F class. They use like a sled, something like that. So, but I actually shoot on bipods right now. I shoot on the single pool PRS MDT bipods, and then I use an adjustable bag rider on the back. And I shoot pretty well. I mean, I'm one of the worst shooters out there by far because there's so many great shooters out there, and they have everything you really need. But for what I have, I mean, I'm shooting really well, so I'm happy about that. Now, I'm not sure this chassis or stock it is uh, designed for F class. You can tell by this sort of flared out bottom, likely somewhere between 2 and 3 inches because you can't be over 3 inches. And that's just so it can have a nice smooth bottom to run on. Now I don't have that. I have a plate that I run with my ACC. So I don't have that, but these are really nice. This is what a lot of guys are shooting. And then you see at the very front, we have the shield that's supposed to be help with mirage from the heat coming off your barrel, whether it be from the sun or from the barrel heating up itself. Um, and I'm not sure what barrel this is or what action he runs. I know he does some custom stuff, so I'm not super sure. But a couple key things to note here: you can see that he's running a single scope rings. Now I run double, so they're separated; they're not together. And you'll notice that there's three screws here. Two screws was sort of the standard for a really long time. And you're starting to see a lot more of these three screws. You're starting to see a lot more of these single ring scopes, and makes a lot of sense. And I'm looking to potentially, when I upgrade my scope, potentially upgrade my rings. But then you're looking at $200 to $300 for new rings, where I have Badger rings. They're amazing. I have no problems with them at all, and they'll actually fit on this scope. And so no reason to really do that. Now, the last thing I want to mention here at the very front, and you can sort of see it peeking out there, is the new Garmin chronograph. Now, I sort of assumed that, and matter of fact, I haven't actually looked into this, and maybe I'm just making the wrong assumptions because sometimes businesses do have the same name. But I assumed that this was made by Garmin, the watch company that does like GPS and they do for ultra runners and the watches, they do them for marathoners, they do them from people who run in the hills, whatever the case may be. But they make some of the best products in the world for that. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, if that's the same company, this is going to be lights out. And all the reviews I've seen for it essentially have told me that it likely is, because everybody's saying like everything else is dead and this is it. Now I like my chronograph. I just got it like 6 months ago, and it works really well for me. I don't have any problems with it, but I am a gearhead. I do like stuff, and potentially I'll upgrade to this at some point in the future. Maybe we'll do a review on it, but it is it is pretty cool looking. It's nice and compact, which is awesome. So that's pretty much what I'm seeing here, except for if you're just sort of really paying attention, you'll see a bubble level on the Seb here, and then you'll see another bubble level right here on the scope rings, and then another bubble level here. And I also run dual bubbles because I want to make sure that my scope is always in the right position, and that's really the only way you can make sure that it is, and that you haven't had shifting, that your rings haven't come loose and your scope is shifting, whatever the case may be. So, super, super nice build. I mean, with everything he has, let's take out the set, but you take the just the setup and add the scope in, and you add the rings in and all of that. I mean, you're looking at likely, 13, $14,000 for this, I would imagine. So it's quite an expensive build. And then you start adding on the rest, you start adding the chronograph and whatever else may be here. Extremely nice. And I know that I think F Class John is potentially at sponsorships or partnerships or things like that. And maybe he gets things. But that would be sort of my guess on what this would end up running you, if you wanted to build it, right? Because you're looking at, $1,200 to $1,600 for the stock. You're looking at $600 to $800 for the barrel. You're looking at, probably $16 to $2,000 for the action. And this is about the March scope, when it was announced, and it was really only being covered by people who were using it, either athletes or maybe they had given it to some influencers. I'm not super sure who were competing with them as testing. The prices, they were saying that they were going to be $5,000. So you look at just the scope. I mean, if that's $5,000, then you got to you add everything on. You can see it starts to really add up, and this is why this is a really hard sport to get into, because it is such a high entry point if you really want to be competitive. And that's what I wanted. I want to be competitive. I don't want to go out there and I like shooting. It is fun for me, but I love competing, and I've always wanted to be compete in shooting. And so now that's sort of where we're at, but it does take a while to get there. And you can see, like, I'm on a 16-month waiting list for the Seb Neo X, right? And this is not my first waiting list I've been on. And so It takes time, it takes patience, takes a lot of funds, it takes a lot of, if you're married, it takes a lot of understanding from your partner. And so this is such a beautiful build, and sort of the same way that people like to look at cars, right? They're car fans, things like that. That's how I am about rifles. Now, I'm not quite as knowledgeable yet. I mean, if I was, I would say, oh, that's this action, and that's this barrel, and that's this stock or whatever. But I'm getting there. I'm starting to learn, right? I'm sort of like you guys a little bit in the way that you want to learn is the way that I also want to learn. So let's get into this video and let's see what's going to happen.
For what it's worth, I've got it mounted up in my F3R rings. These are
I've never heard of F3R rings. I'm gonna have to go and see if I can check into those.
without a doubt my favorite ring sets. I think they're an incredible value. They're right at or just under $200. They're just really well made, and I think they're just incredible for the price. I've done videos on these before. But anyway, we've got it all set up. Let's get.
I don't know what's going on with this exposed cap here. I wonder if the Collis that I have, the 5 to 25, has, you can screw off the cap and then inside is a tool. I wonder if that's what's going on here, because I don't think that's supposed to be exposed like that.
Zeroed in, and then I'll show you what it does at 600 yards.
So if you're not familiar at zeroing is done at 100 yards typically, and it just means that we'll take a look here. There you go. When you are zeroing it in, it is not it. When you're aiming and it's brand new scope, or sometimes it does gets a little bit off. And let's say you're aiming right at the middle. Well, the bullet might not go right in the middle because the scope is off, and you can adjust it, right? I mean, yeah, everybody knows you can click, 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 click. You can go, it'll go up, it'll go down, and go left or right. But you can also unscrew the cap. So let's say you finally do get it, like you had to click up twice and whatever, click over twice, and now you are shooting in the middle. Now you can unscrew the caps and move the caps to zero, because you know that's the 0 point now, right? And now you adjust everything incrementally based off distance, based off of that. And that's essentially what he is going to be doing.
So we're just going to do a little bit of testing tonight. I thought I would show.
So it looks like he's zeroed already, and now he's jumped. He didn't say he jumped, but it's 6:30. He said this evening, so I have to assume this is now at 600 yards. Yeah, I have to assume it's now at 600 yards. Now, a quick little note here, you'll see on the right-hand side, it says the trigger cam. Oh boy, do I want one of these, but I don't need it. But I do want one, and maybe I will in the future, especially for this show. It allows you to put the camera on the back of your scope, so then you can see through the scope and record. Just that's how you guys are able to see this. So pretty cool little system. A little bit of money there as well, but you'll see we're shooting at 6:30 p.m. Sunset's approaching. Shooting undercover, which means he's got some shade as well as it's getting dark in the day. So it's important to know that, because as a person who wants to know exactly what this scope looks like behind the scope, and I haven't really been able to find very many videos that show this super well. This is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a video that will show me what the picture looks like, what the field looks like, what the coloring looks like, to the best of the ability. Granted, he has to put this up and edit it. I don't know if he puts anything over it, but to the best of the ability. So this is exactly what I'm looking at, and this is why people like F Class John are so important, because he gives you this realistic look into what could potentially be an extremely expensive buy for you.
What this March is capable of. This is at 80 power without the sunshade on, and I'm undercover and it's a little overcast. So that's 80 power. That's 50.
Whoa, let's take a look at that. I mean, that light really opened up. Now, I've been a videographer and photographer for a very long time, 15 years, and so I understand what's going on here, but wasn't expecting it to be that drastic. But what you will notice is the picture stays pretty clear going from 50 to 80, which is a huge jump, right? My scope is a 5 to 25, and this is going, and that's essentially a 5 to 25, that's 20. This is going from 50 to 80, right? So a much bigger jump, and it still looks pretty good. and he's at 600 yards. I mean, this is outstanding. Even when I'm all the way maxed out at 600 yards, it doesn't look nearly, obviously, this is half. I would be seeing it in half, not nearly this good. So hopefully we're going to see some great shooting coming here.
Power, just to give you an idea. So it does darken up, but of course it's going to. You're at 80 power. And again, at 50.
And I don't know how clear the trigger cam shoots, so it's very possible that um, it darkens it as well, or maybe even lights it up. I don't really know how close it is in comparison.
So we're just going to do a little powder test. I thought it would be fun to show what we got going on here.
So, powder testing. I don't know if he's doing a ladder test or what he's doing, but essentially what it means is he's going to have different powder weights, right? Different amounts of powder in his cases. And that might throw off the consistency that you would see on here. So if it doesn't look like that it's super accurate, that's potentially why. If he's doing powder testing right now, he didn't say what that means. So it could be he's got 10 shots of one and then 10 shots of a different one or whatever. I mean, he didn't show us zeroing, so he must have done something accurate from there. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty interesting. If it was me, and I'm nowhere near as good of a shooter as F Class John at this point, so what do I know? But if it was me, and I was testing this scope out for the first time, which is what I do with my gear, I'm shooting the same thing, right? I'm not changing anything. I want to see it at 100. I want to see it at 300. If I can get out further, 600 or 1,000. And at our range, at some of the clubs, they do where they do that, right? The shooting day is consisted of starting at 200, then you'll go to 400, 600, 800, 1,000 yards. So you get practice at every spot. So it really gives me a lot of consistency in really knowing and making sure my dope is where I wanted it or expected it to be. Line's hot. Let's do this. This makes me want to get out to the range, man. Can't wait. I'm in the middle of an eye surgery, and so I can't go out right now. But that's it's on my docket for early next year. So you'll see on the right as well. Now, not everybody has this. I don't know if this is part of their range or if he owns this system. And if it's a system, I think it's about $800. But you set up your own sensors, and then instead of having to walk down at 600 yards to see what it is, you can see it on like a tablet, right? See exactly where you're at, and then it'll tell you certain like mathematics. And I know he's got his chronograph on. But I think the sensors as well will sort of tell you where the speed's at, I believe. And it's a really beautiful tool, really great, and will tell you sort of the distance between your shots. And again, this is F class, right?
And if I wanted to, I can turn on.
Oh, hey! I did not know that it had a illuminated, oh Jesus, illumination in there. That's really nice. I have that on my scope. Now I very rarely use it because when I'm out shooting, the weather's pretty nice. There's no clouds or anything like that. But if it was a little bit darker, and especially if when you're at 80 it darkens up, man, this could be helpful if you're shooting on, you're seeing a little bit darker and you're shooting on the black like this. Wow, and I hadn't seen anybody say anything about that, so that's cool. I like that. Plus, it allows us to see it better, right? All right, there we go. First shot in the X. So looks like that zeroing went all right.
So now we're just going to have at it.
Illumination off. So you'll see, I mean, he's trying to get things adjusted in there. Now, it's a little bit easier from at least my experience with the front rest to get like locked in. But I really do like the bag rider on the back. For me, it does really work really well, and the bag rider is not really the issue. It's that the bipod that I have are made for PRS, and they're made to have a little bit of give and cant and tilt and all of this stuff. And so, and they're, the base is, they're a little sharp. So it digs into the ground and it moves my point, and I have to constantly readjust. And that's why I said, okay, it's time to get a front rest because I need to combat this problem. But that's why you'll sort of see him moving and adjusting around to get back in place. And if you haven't watched any videos on the 70OX, definitely check it out because it's a piece, but you'll see exactly, it'll give you good context for what's happening here. Because you can see, okay, well, how do they use that to adjust? And then you'll be like, okay, that's likely what he's doing to adjust here. And if you're interested in doing F class or bench rest where you would use a front rest like this, or at least an open, then it's good to sort of get it. And I believe that F Class Channel actually does a review of the 70OX. So, it all works out there. But these shots are a little, they're a little spread. I mean, it's a little more spread than I thought it would be. There, I mean, as I speak, he's shooting right in the X. So what do I know? What do I know? Again, he is doing some powder testing, he said, so there might be some variations here. I sort of wish he was talking about like, oh, I'm, doing this or whatever. And I know this is a review of, the scope he has, so he can just give us a picture. This is what it looks like. But I think to most people that are watching this, it's like, okay, it's a scope. It's whatever. Now, I will mention that I'm pretty sure this is not the reticle that is designed for F class. Now you can use whatever reticle you're comfortable with, and this is much closer to what I run on my Collis. But I'm fairly certain there's a whole different reticle that's set up distinctly for F class, and I'm wondering why he didn't go with that if he's going to explain that. So first 5 shots are averaging 28.43. And quite a big spread on 600 yards, right? F-Class John's the sort of guy that can get it in the 10 ring and the X ring consistently at 1,000 yards and be competitive. And so this has to, if you're watching this and you're started trying to understand what's going on, why is he not like honed in? Why are these not as close or whatever? That's why, right? Clearly he's doing something. And if I was watching this and he wasn't cussing or frustrated or whatever, just based off knowledge base, I'd say, oh, he's clearly doing something that he's not talking about, because if it was the same ammo and everything was lined up, he would be shooting far more consistent than this, I believe, at 600 yards, because he's an outstanding shooter. He just won, he just got first place at some really big shooting competitions, so there's no reason that that wouldn't be the case. So just so you guys know, sticking up for F-Class on here, he's an outstanding shooter. You don't need to worry about that. But yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that's a good example, right? We're out at the 9 now, which, I don't think you would typically see. Now, he's not talking. It doesn't look, by looking at it, it doesn't look like there's wind out there. It doesn't. I mean, it's later in the evening, so there's probably not a ton of mirage. So it's hard to really say. I don't know what the temperature is right now, if that's affecting anything. So I'm just purely going based off it's probably this instance here where he's trying to just test out powder. But I will say it looks clear. It looks clear, and I bet at 1,000 yards, that 80 looks like the 50, and that's what I want it to look like, and that's why I want to upgrade. And you may be asking yourself, well, sort of, then it comes down to the gear, not the person. Yeah, sort of. I mean, the gear helps, right? I will say that people who have scopes right now that are at 40 and 50 power, and I'm shooting 25, they have a competitive edge over me, right? It is harder for me to get it in that X ring in 10, but I do get it in the X ring in the 10 at 1,000 yards, and you can get good at doing that, right? I believe that. So, focus on the fundamentals, but yeah, it does help to have the right gear. That's extremely important. And there's plenty of X's in here. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 And there's one on that X10 X ring. I think it's hard. I mean, you could have done a voiceover like I'm doing. It's hard to narrate while you're doing this. And maybe I'll give this a test, right? I plan on going out to the range, and when I do, look at the barrel's heating up, okay? And because I don't have my normal Mirage band on, okay. You can see the barrel, Mirage. I was wondering about that. I was like, I can sort of see a little bit of. And they say the more you can zoom in, the more you can sort of see that mirage that's coming off of that. But, I never really super noticed it myself. But again, I just don't have enough rounds downrange to have as much of a keen eye. And again, I'm getting surgery on my eye, cataract surgery. And so already my eye is much better, and I suspect I'll be able to see a little bit more than I'd seen in the past, which is great. I love that sound of the ammo going, into the action, getting pushed forward and ready to be shot. Almost more than the shot. I don't know why. It's loaded up. You're ready. The anticipation of where it's going to go.
One on.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm assuming you're testing.
5 powder charges.
Got it.
There you go. 5 powder charges.
It's looking pretty damn good. Oh, these are your new Borden.
My new Borden with my new March.
So I'm fairly certain Borden is the barrel. Borden is the barrel or the action? I have to look into that. And then obviously he's running the new scope as well.
Look at you. Look at you go.
Now he is shooting, I'm being a little judgmental here. He is shooting 10s and X's. And that's where you want to be. As long as you're in the 10s and the X, you're going to be competitive, right? You'd really love to get it in the 10 ring as much as possible. But as long as you can keep it in the 10, you're in a really, really good spot. And I had this question when I was brand new. I was asking a guy, what's like a good score, right? I was sort of shooting, like assuming like 600, right, is the top score you can get. I was like, oh, what if you get like a 5, like 75 or whatever? And he was like, no, it's 600. And I was like, yeah, ha ha ha. And he's like, no, it's 600, right? And I'm like, well, what do guys normally shoot? And he's like, like 590, or sorry, like 599, 598, 597. I was like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah, like that's the competitive. Like, and I was like, oh no. Because I think the first time I went out and I shot like a 5. Now my very first shot was an X, so I felt very comfortable about that. And I held my composure, but I think I shot like maybe like a 520 or something, right? Like not like, and I thought, I don't know, man. I don't know what I was thinking. I was just happy to be out there and shooting and having fun and getting on target. Like honestly, that's still where I'm at. Like I'm always happy. I'm like, okay, great. Like I'm understanding, especially the last time I shot, I beat my buddy who's a far better shooter than me, who actually just won first place at a competition. And granted, he's been practicing a lot this year, so he's getting really good. But I outshot him that day, and the winds were heavy, right? We were like 12, 15 miles per hour, left to right. It was out there. And so for me, I feel good about that until I get into the systems I want. So I feel comfortable with my ammo, and then I can start being a bit more critical of what I'm doing. Yeah, I was hitting a couple 8s, some 7s. I mean, I was not looking good out there, but I felt good about myself. I was just happy to have some fun. there was a guy that was on our team, our relay, who was missing the target altogether. It was a whole situation. I felt really really bad for him, and it sort of confirmed that. Yeah, I'm really happy that I got my scope, or I was really happy that I got my system designed by Wolf Precision, and I felt very reaffirmed in that decision when I'd gone out there and I was able to be semi-competitive with my skill set and my equipment. Um, yeah, I saw what it's like to not have a great rifle on the line with a couple guys, and I said, okay, well, at least I'm in the right direction. But this scope, I mean, it looks great. I would love to be able to see this. I mean, this is what I've been looking for. This is what I'm excited about. Like, yeah, it's a lot of money, um, but potentially, you know, I'll never need to buy another scope again for this discipline. I mean, potentially. So might be a one and done situation. If I want to sell my scope,
Right.
if I want to sell my scope, I can, because it's actually gained appreciation at my specific scope, but that scope is selling for more than when I bought it. And so, and I've decked mine out, right? Sun shield and, all the little things that you can get for it to make sure I had everything I needed. But looking at this, you can sort of see, right? We did five shot groups, and it looks like about 20 ish feet per second increase over those shots. So slightly going up and up and up. So you can sort of see that. I mean, you just make small adjustments, and we got all of these. I love the like how the colors correlate over here. So really great. I mean, outstanding, right? He had 248 with 13x. So really good. You can see a couple of these on the outside, but that's gonna happen. We're
Well,
testing.
there you go. First 600-yard match with the new March Majesta 8 to 80 power. Overall, I got to go back and dissect these codes, but aside from a couple shots, I'm in a pretty good window here, so it'll get a test out at 1,000. Well, that's about all for now. So you guys have a good one. We'll see you later.
So great video. Thank you, F Class John, for that. I do know what's on his YouTube account, and the 1,000 yard one is not up yet. I believe this is the only thing he has up, but when it does come up, I will watch it because I do want to see. I don't know if I'll do another video like this, just because for the most people this might be a bit boring to watch somebody shoot over and over, but I am really interested in this. And so thank you guys for tuning in today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed a little bit of the insight, and I'll see you guys next time.